on it, mainly because I can't remember the exact words. But hopefully this will just help you understand what it is that you're doing in the meditation practice when in the development of unification of attention, and also what it means when we're observing things like thinking patterns within the mind. Okay. So first I'd like you to picture 6 animals. So you have 6 animals, and these 6 animals are in a circle around the outside of you. Yeah. So you might have, and you might have a crocodile, you might have a monkey. Because we're in Australia, we're going to have a wombat. We're going to have a gazelle. We're going to have a tiger. How many animals is that?
5.
That's 5.
Kangaroo.
No, I didn't say we're not going to go with kangaroo today.
They won't stay still.
And we're going to have an eagle.
An eagle.
We're going to have an eagle. So we've got these 6 animals, and these 6 animals are all around you, and they all have a rope tied around their waist. And this rope, all the ropes meet in the middle. And so all these ropes where they meet in the middle are tied into a tight knot. So much so when any animal is pulling against the rope, it's pulling against that middle knot. Yeah? Now, in that middle knot of the rope is your attention. Your attention is that middle knot. Now, what happens at some stage, all these animals look up and they can see off into the distance the area in which they live, the area in which they call home. Yeah? So the crocodile sees the river and starts heading towards the river. The monkey sees the trees and starts heading towards the trees. The wombat likes to burrow and sees the burrow and tries to head towards its hole so it can head down into the ground. The eagle tries to flow up to the top of the mountains. The gazelle heads towards the plains. Yeah, so you get this kind of idea of all these different animals pulling in all different directions because they all live in different places. They all have different fields or different places in which they live. So as these animals are pulling, they're pulling on your attention, which is in the middle of the knot of the rope. And at some stages, one animal, the tiger's heading for the jungle. At one stage, one animal is stronger than the other and it will pull a bit, but then it gets tired and then other animal is pulling in another direction. So basically the ropes are all pulling and every animal is getting dragged along behind. One animal is dominant at that time. And your attention is just getting pulled here and there. Yeah. And this pulling of your attention from these animals is exhausting. It's tiring. Yeah. This is the nature of our mind in everyday life, or our attention in everyday life. By the end of the day, we're not really tired because we're being physically active. You can do nothing all day and you can be absolutely exhausted. We're tired because our attention is constantly being pulled here and there all the time. It's exhausting. It's tiring. So, of course, the animals are sights. We get pulled towards sights. Their sounds, their smells, their tastes, their sensations in our body, their thoughts, their memories. Yeah. So the mind is the 6th animal. And these pulling in all different directions, just exhausting us. Yeah. And these animals have tendencies. The monkey runs up the tree, jumping from branch to branch, is like the agitated mind. And the wombat goes down the hole. It just wants to curl up and go to sleep and so on. Yeah. So you can kind of get these idea of the metaphors of the animals. Now, what happens when we're developing our attention in meditation is when we're developing concentration, what we're doing is we're learning how to calm these animals. So calm the senses, the 6 senses. We're calming them so they no longer pull on the rope. And eventually they become so calm that we can actually untie the rope from our attention, which means the attention can still sit in the middle and it can be aware of the different senses or the different animals on the outside, but feeling no need to be drawn out towards them. So this is what we're doing with mindfulness of breathing when we're developing that initial unification of our attention. We're still aware of the 6 senses to some degree, but not in detail. And they're no longer pulling our attention out towards them. Does this make sense so far?
Very much.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. So we've got different training methods for this, but in MIDL, the main one that we use is softening. Yeah? And softening means whenever we notice a pull on the rope, we acknowledge it and we relax. We soften the relationship of the rope. Yeah? And this softening creates a temporary abandonment of that pull. So this is in the development of attention. Now, all of this has to tie back to development of insight. When you're developing insight, it's helpful to have that concentration. If you think about the development of this concentration, you're building up a mental muscle. It's kind of like you can go out and do things within your life, but if you go and train in the gym and you strengthen your muscles in the gym, then when you go out, maybe it might be easier to do things. Things will be a lot lighter and easier to do. Yeah, you're a lot fitter. And the same thing with the development of this unification of attention. When we develop that depth of concentration, then development of insight is easier. Yeah, we can lift heavier weights, as it were. Yeah. So when we're developing insight, we first develop that concentration first and the unification of our attention as much as we can. And then what we do is we change the way that we're relating to those ropes. Instead of softening, relaxing the ropes, we allow the ropes to re-engage. And what we do is we follow the pull. Yeah? We follow the pull to learn about, to develop understanding of the different animals that are pulling on the ropes. And also understanding how that when we're leaning back, pulling on that rope as well, fighting against it, that is painful, that is exhausting. So when a rope is pulled, instead of still being pulled by all the other ropes, what we do is we unify our attention and we bring it together and we go with that pull in one direction. And that's how we develop understanding. So now we're talking about, last week we observed thinking and learned the nature of thinking. What's really going on with thinking? We understood, or hopefully we did, that thinking doesn't actually exist. What happens is our mind stimulates one or a combination of our 6 senses to communicate with us. And we've learned to understand that communication and we call it thinking. But it's really just our 5 senses, yeah, being used for communication. The same as I'm using sound to communicate with you now. The sound coming out of my mouth actually has absolutely no meaning whatsoever. You have been trained in this meaning. So you hear meaning, you don't hear sound. It's the same. You've learnt to see sights or hear sounds or feel things in your body and believe that it's thinking, believe that it's communication. But really, these are just being stimulated by the mind to communicate. Yeah. Okay, Let's look at observing thinking patterns. Okay, in observing thinking patterns, what we do is we set up our meditation, we set up our attention, and then we relax and allow our mind to wander. And often when we allow it to wander, it won't. So what you've got to do is you literally have to relax your mindfulness. That means allow yourself to become unmindful for a period of time so that your habitual part of your mind will take over and grab your attention and place it somewhere else. And then if you've done the training in mindfulness, the mindfulness will return quite fast and you'll be able to go with that and observe where the attention goes. In this case, we're interested in thinking. So if you've had a busy day, it's a wonderful time to do this meditation. With the going out of attention to observing thinking patterns, what we do is we're not taking interest, like in previous training, number 22, in the experience of thinking. What we're taking interest in is what is this thinking about? It might be planning something. It might be remembering something. It might be worrying about something. Yeah? It doesn't matter what it's about. Your task is to notice what is your mind on about today? What is it chattering about today? Yeah? And then when you notice this chattering, you do this. First, notice what it's about. So planning, remembering, worrying, whatever. Then go to your body, and I'd like you to notice, you mightn't notice this at first, but see if you can notice, is there any corresponding reaction in your body to that type of thinking? Maybe it might be a change in breathing. Would that be possible? Yeah? Maybe your breathing, if you're worrying about something, your breathing might change a bit. Might be anxious. Your breathing will change. Yeah? Maybe if you're planning something, has anyone ever experienced that when they're planning something, you can become very, gets exciting? Yeah? Yeah? So there's an excitement comes up in your body. That's where you'll feel it in your body, an excitement in your body. What if you're planning something in the future that you're concerned about? Starts to feel very tight, intense. You might feel it in the throat, in the chest, in the belly. Might feel it in the shoulders, they're going up around your ears. Yeah, these are all physical responses to the mind. Later on, we will intentionally bring up pleasant memories and unpleasant memories. If your mind's dwelling on a memory, if it was unpleasant, there'll be a response in your body, probably an emotion to do with that. And if it's a pleasant memory, there'll be a response which will be an emotion as well. And both of them will have a feeling to it. So even better if you can notice the Vedana, the feeling tone, the pleasantness or unpleasantness. Yeah. Yes, Deb?
Does the thought always come first and then the sensation? Or can you get a sensation and then a thought?
So the question was, can a thought come first and then the sensation in the body? Or can the sensation come first and the thought second? Both.
Yeah.
So a common example, if you kick your toe, the thought will come second, not first. But then again, maybe if you're feeling anxious or nervous about something, then the thinking about what you're nervous about will come second, or anxious about will come second. So you can have a response first. Yeah. So you see something that scares you, or you're nervous about going there, you'll feel in your body. Yeah. You'll feel the desire to not do it. Yeah. I don't really want to go in there. And then the thought will go, I don't really want to go in there. Will go in your mind. And then it'll make you say something. You go to your friends, I don't really want to go and do that. I really don't. Can we do something else? So the thought came second. Yeah. But you might see something or hear something. It triggers a thought or a memory. And then there will be a corresponding feeling in your body. And your relationship to that feeling in your body will also trigger more thoughts and memories and so on. So it can actually start at any point. It can start at any of the six senses, any of them. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the best way to find out is to just check it out.
Yeah, investigate.
Yeah. Yeah. So what you do then is once you notice that response in your body, especially the feeling, the Vedana, what do, Deb?
Yeah,
you soften into it. So you need to learn to soften, relax your relationship towards it, go back, reset your meditation and start again. Yeah, just like that. And this way you'll start to develop understanding. And this is a great way to check in at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, just to see where your mind is focused, where its attention sits. Now, what's happened in my own practice over the years is before I used to have lots of worries and concerns and planning and all this sort of stuff. But through noticing this and then softening the relationship towards it, gradually the planning and the worrying and the concerns have just faded from my mind. And so my mind's not throwing up this type of thinking. It tends to be throwing up thinking about whatever's going on right now. It tends to be more about that. And it tends to not really want to stick to it that much, where before it used to hang on to it, yeah, and not let go. Yeah, like a dog with a rope, like to play with a rope. It used to just grab onto it. It's like, no, yeah, yeah. So I'm one of those people that used to would want to. You can't sleep on an argument. We've got to just stay up all night until we get to the end of this. That was me. Yeah. But now I just don't have arguments. It's okay. It's okay for us all not to agree. Yeah, it doesn't really matter, really. It doesn't really mean that much. As we saw last week, the way that we experience thinking is so different. We don't even live in the same worlds. Actually, we should celebrate when we actually agree on something, when we see something the same way, which is why I'm so happy that you guys here are in the class, because in this way we're aligning, yeah, with what we think is important. And that's pretty rare to have people actually align. Yeah, fantastic. Has anyone got any questions or anything they'd like to share? Okay, best way. I hope you got lots of thinking happening. You have?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic, good. Some just fair. Okay, simple. Hold your hands, eyes closed over. Take a gentle breath in. Slowly out. Relax. Bringing awareness to your body, mindfulness to the front of your mind. Aware of your whole body, the flow of breath within your body, not controlling it. And to develop insight, we're going to observe our mind. Take a few softening breaths and relax your attention. In particular, relax your mindfulness and allow your attention to wander. If any thoughts come to mind, take interest in what's driving that thought. Is it planning, remembering, fantasizing? If it's specific type of thinking, start to notice where you can feel it within your body. Can you notice any response in your body? If you can, just take a few softening breaths and relax it, and notice what happens to the thinking. Okay, you can open your eyes. So is your mind behaving? Because you wanted it to think. Did it come to the party? Oh, fantastic. Well done. You weren't.
Yes, I was.
You was.
I was fantasizing.
Oh, about me?
No. Sorry.
Oh, we actually got flush. You're fantasizing.
Yes.
Was there any response in your body? Did you feel tightness, tension, excitement?
I didn't.
Not about me.
I didn't notice. I didn't notice.
You didn't notice. Did you get lost in it, or?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Could you, when you notice, were you able to just take a few softening breaths and relax? Or you were just lost in it most of the time?
I was, most of the time I was lost in it. I was coming out, and, you know, most of the time I was lost in it. Yeah.
Take interest in being lost.
Mm.
Because being lost is really, really interesting. I find it really, really weird that we can actually become lost within thinking. It's very strange.
But
Yeah.
also, we can also observe it as well.
When we're lost in it?
Yeah, well, observe the thinking, but not be lost. Observe.
Oh, we can. Yeah.
The story.
Yeah.
But not be lost in it. Like this morning, I was
we can do
meditating and I wasn't lost in my thoughts. I was.
So you could observe it just going on, but not lost. And that's a completely different experience.
Completely different feeling.
So you really relaxed your mindfulness this time.
Yes.
Anybody else like to share?
Everyone was good.
Nobody had it. No one else had any thinking. Come on. Yours was quiet there?
Yeah, actually, mine did initially go to a little, I test planning, but then I've just got a little bit of tightness within my chest, and I wasn't interested in that staying, so I just softened into the.
This is your training of you've been training your attention, haven't you?
Yes.
It's not wandering off as much as
well. Well, it's becoming less interested because I have noticed with practicing the concentration more how I do still hold a lot of
tension.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
A lot of my thinking must be a little bit, I don't know, a little bit of fear in it, because I definitely feel the tightness within my chest. So I've just been trying to work on that.
I like that, not being as interested in it.
Yeah.
This is wisdom. We start to notice that what we thought was protecting us is actually causing our pain.
Yeah. Well, I'm very sensitive towards.
So for the fantasy stuff.
Yeah. My body, the sensations within my body, that tightness, I definitely.
Good.
I'm clearly not.
That's fantastic. Just keep cultivating that lack of interest.
Yeah.
It's really.
I think it's just a very deep habitual pattern.
Yeah.
Sometimes not even a lot of thinking, that I can still feel tight.
It's still that. Yeah. It's like you could go out on a paddleboard. So if, like Don, you're comfortable with it, you could actually be relaxed on the paddleboard. But I could go out on the paddleboard with Don, and I'd be out on the paddleboard next to him, and I could just really tighten and tense and put in more effort than I need to stay on that board. Yeah. And that causes a wobble, it causes a shake, it causes a lot of pain. Yeah. And this is the same thing. Learning to relax, we become more firm, more steady, less disturbed. And what I've learned is all this sort of worrying thinking, concern thinking, trying to predict the future thinking, and struggling with the whole past thing, I did this, you did that thinking, it's just a total waste of effort and time and energy. And it has no benefit whatsoever. More just getting good at just working with whatever's here now, doing whatever needs to be done now. And it doesn't matter how it turns out, because however it turns out is what's happening now. And so then we work with that.
Yeah, it's so true, isn't it?
It's just being a good dancer like that. Yeah. Hussein or Sean, have you got anything to share, or that about sums it up?
Mine was like Deb's. I'm sorry, Hussein, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, you go.
So
I was going to say mine. I'm sorry, yeah, mine was like Deb's. I was planning, and it happened pretty quickly. So I was pleased with that, actually.
Is your attention starting to develop a bit now?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, good. Good on you.
Yeah.
Well done. Yeah, and when you find that, the thinking won't go for as long, will it? It's like you don't get entangled in it as much.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
Absolutely.
You've come a long way. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And Hussein was just, I pulled him out of the fourth jhana. So
I actually, it was interesting because it relaxed my mindfulness, and it kind of went through a few events of the day, but I was aware of my mind going through them.
Like what Don was talking about, you could be aware of it.
Yeah, I was aware of it. And then there was one episode that, there's a worry. And then I actually started feeling a little tight in my chest, but then I softened and it went away and I could come back. And I was aware throughout that this was happening. But this is interesting because it also reminds me that there is a worry right now. We're waiting for a test result. And so what I have noticed is that when my attention moves away from the object of meditation, it actually looks at the mind rather than the worry itself. And the mind feels like the part of the mind feels like a sentry standing like that, waiting for something. And there's emptiness around it. There are no other thoughts.
So is this like the attention's in the middle, but it let go of the 6 ropes?
Yeah, probably,
yeah. So the ropes are pulling, but you're not getting pulled on the other end of the rope. So there's all that space. They're all going to their own places and doing what they want to.
Yeah.
And you observe it, but there's space in that middle.
Yeah.
Where if the
And then
boat's
I don't,
really
I,
tight, you kind of like,
yeah. The
that's
thing is that it seems I don't get lost in that worry because I can see the mind worry. And then I soften and it kind of, the sentry goes like, okay. And then I come back to the meditation
oh,
object.
fantastic. Well done.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Good. And I'd just like to finish up by pointing out to everyone how simple this is. You notice you soften.
Hmm.
Yet how powerful that is. You soften, you just come back to what you're doing. Yeah.